The Imperial Command Center floated in silence above the capital world, its towers reaching into the dark void. The station was a fortress, shielded by fleets of destroyers and battleships. No enemy had ever dared come this close. No one would be foolish enough to challenge the Empire here. At least, that's what the admirals believed. But that night, every scanner screamed with warnings. The officers inside the command deck froze as their screens filled with static and distortion. It wasn't a malfunction. Something was pushing through their sensors, something huge. The distortion rolled like waves, then cleared. And when it cleared, everyone saw it. A warship had appeared from nothing, decloaked, inside Imperial space. It wasn't a ship anyone recognized. Its design was strange, sharp, and dark, as if it were carved from the void itself. No insignia. No signal. No broadcast. Just silence. The admirals stared, their mouths dry. Whoever built that ship had cloaked it so perfectly that even Imperial scanners hadn't noticed until it was already there. And now, it was moving. Slowly. Steadily. Heading straight for command. "Identify that vessel," Admiral Vera barked, her voice cracking through the silence. "We can't, Admiral," a young officer stammered. "It doesn't match any known database. It's not pirate. Not Republic. Not Federation. Nothing." The tension rose like a storm. The ship glided closer, ignoring all hails. The command center's defense fleet shifted into formation, their cannons tracking the unknown intruder. But the warship did not even slow down. Admiral Kale narrowed his eyes. "They're testing us. They know exactly where they are. They want us to react." The unknown vessel dwarfed even the Empire's largest battleships. Its hull shimmered with strange patterns, almost alive, as if shadows crawled across it. It had no lights, no windows, nothing to show life inside. And yet, everyone felt it watching them. On the civilian networks, whispers spread like wildfire. People looked up from their homes on the capital world, seeing the dark silhouette pass across the stars. Panic began to grow. If this was an invasion, the heart of the Empire was exposed. "Should we fire, Admiral?" a captain asked, his hands shaking above the command panel. Vera hesitated. If they fired first, it could start a war they weren't ready for. But if they waited, and this ship struck first, the Empire could lose its command center in seconds. Before she could answer, the ship sent out a pulse. Not a message. Something deeper. A wave of energy rippled across the fleets, across the command center, across the planet itself. Screens flickered. Engines stalled. Even the atmosphere generators of the capital world shuddered for a moment. "EMP strike," someone gasped. "No," another officer whispered. "Something else. It wasn't meant to disable us, it was scanning us." A chill passed through the deck. The unknown ship had just stripped them bare. It knew every defense, every weakness, every system in place. Then, without warning, it transmitted a sound. Not words. Not language. A low, deep vibration that rattled bones and made hearts race. Some officers covered their ears. Others trembled, their instincts screaming in fear. Whatever species had built this ship, they wanted the Empire to feel small. And it was working. The admirals exchanged looks. For the first time in decades, they were afraid. Not of an army. Not of an invasion fleet. But of a single ship. On the planet below, civilians started fleeing into shelters. Rumors spread that the gods of old had returned, or that demons from another galaxy had come to punish the Empire. No one had answers. The unknown vessel continued its approach. Its course was direct, deliberate. It wasn't here for the planet. It wasn't here for the fleet. It was heading for one target alone, the Imperial Command Center. Inside the deck, alarms screamed louder. The officers' voices broke into chaos. Some shouted to fire. Others begged to hold. The admirals tried to keep order, but the fear was spreading faster than commands. Then, the warship did something none of them expected. It stopped. Dead still. 100 kilometers from the station. Its hull split open, revealing something inside, something massive, glowing with strange energy. "Is that a weapon?" someone whispered. The admirals didn't answer. Because deep down, they all knew. This ship wasn't here by accident. It wasn't lost. It wasn't a mistake. It had come for them. The Imperial command, the very brain of the Empire, was about to face an enemy they had never seen before. And the first move hadn't even been made yet. The unknown ship hung in the darkness, silent, waiting, watching. Every second felt like the calm before a storm that would burn across the galaxy. The unknown warship hung in silence, its dark shape filling every screen in the command center. The admirals waited, their nerves stretched thin. Every second of stillness felt heavier than the last. Then the weapon-like structure inside the ship's hull began to glow brighter. The light was strange, almost alive. It wasn't the familiar blue of plasma or the white glare of railguns. This was a deep crimson, pulsing like a heartbeat. Every pulse echoed through the scanners, rattling the Empire's defenses. "Shields up!" Admiral Vera shouted. Across the fleet, hundreds of Imperial ships raised their shields. Energy barriers shimmered like glass domes over their hulls. The command center activated its strongest defenses, layers of protection stacked like armor. No one dared to breathe. The crimson glow reached its peak. For a moment, it felt as if the unknown ship would fire and wipe everything away. But instead, the glow faded. The weapon shut down. The command deck erupted in confused whispers. "What are they doing?" Kale muttered. "Why show us their weapon and not use it?" The young officer at the scanners swallowed. "Admiral, I think they wanted us to see it." The meaning hit them all at once. The unknown ship wasn't firing. It was warning them. A demonstration. A promise. The fleet commanders exchanged fearful glances. This enemy wasn't reckless. It was confident enough to stroll into the Empire's heart, show its weapon, and not fire a single shot. But then, a message came through. Not sound this time. Not that bone-rattling vibration. Actual words. The voice was deep, metallic, almost human but not quite. Each syllable carried weight, as if spoken by something that had seen centuries of war. "Imperial command. We know who you are. We know what you've done. And now, we are here." The deck went silent. Every officer leaned closer, holding their breath. "You believe your empire cannot fall. You believe no one can reach you here. But your time of safety has ended. You are not untouchable. Remember that." The message cut off. Static filled the screens for a second before the unknown ship sealed its hull once more. Its weapon disappeared beneath the shadows. Then, slowly it turned, its engines burning with eerie blue fire, and began to move away. "They're leaving?" Vera asked, stunned. "No," Kale whispered, eyes locked on the trajectory. "They're not leaving. They're waiting." He was right. The ship didn't jump to hyperspace. It simply drifted to the edge of the system and held position. Watching. Waiting. The admirals knew what that meant. Whoever commanded that ship wasn't finished. Panic spread across the capital world. Millions of citizens watched the strange vessel through orbital cameras. News channels called it the Phantom Warship. Religious leaders declared it an omen. Some said it was the return of an ancient race wiped out by the Empire centuries ago. But the truth was simpler, and more terrifying. The Empire had no idea who they were dealing with. Inside the command center, the council argued. Some demanded immediate attack. Others warned it was suicide. "We can't let it sit there," one general shouted. "Every moment it waits, it studies us." "And what if we strike?" another countered. "What if it destroys us all in return? This ship alone could rival half our fleet. What if there are more?" The possibility silenced them. If there was one, there could be many. Admiral Vera slammed her fist on the console. We need answers. I want every probe, every scout, every ship searching. Find where this vessel came from. Find out who built it. Now. But even as she gave the order, she knew deep down, it was too late. The enemy had already chosen their next move. On the edge of the system, the warship released something. Tiny dark shapes floated away from its hull. At first, they looked like debris. But soon the scanners picked them up. Drones, the officer whispered. Thousands of them. The swarm spread like a cloud of black dust, scattering into the void. Some drifted toward the Empire's satellites. Others toward the outer defense platforms. And some toward the planet itself. The admirals froze. The unknown ship wasn't leaving. It was spreading its eyes and ears across the Empire. Watching everything. Learning everything. And there was nothing they could do to stop it. Admirals, the scanner officer said, his voice trembling. This isn't a warship. Everyone turned toward him. It's a command vessel. The drones, it's turning our system into its territory. It's claiming Imperial space. The silence that followed was worse than the alarms. Because for the first time in centuries, the admirals realized the truth. The Empire wasn't the hunter anymore. They were the prey. The swarm of drones spread across the system like a living storm. At first, the Empire tried to track them all, but within hours there were too many. The small machines were fast, silent, and almost invisible against the void. They slipped past patrols, avoided defense grids, and attached themselves to Imperial satellites like parasites. Every time the Empire thought they destroyed a group, 10 more appeared somewhere else. Inside the command center, the admirals watched their scanners fill with red warnings. The capital world, once considered the most secure place in the galaxy, now looked infected. They're mapping everything, Admiral Vera said coldly. Every defense platform, every fleet formation, every blind spot in our territory. Soon they will know us better than we know ourselves. Admiral Kale leaned forward, his jaw tight. Then we don't give them the chance. We strike now, before their plans are complete. The council split again. Half of them feared attacking would trigger disaster. The other half feared waiting would be worse. The unknown warship still sat at the system's edge, watching, waiting, as if daring them to make a move. Finally, Emperor Dalus himself gave the order. His voice echoed across the fleet channels. The Empire bows to no one. Destroy that ship. Show the galaxy what happens when strangers trespass in our space. The admirals obeyed. Within hours, the largest fleet ever assembled in the capital system moved into formation. Dozens of battleships, hundreds of cruisers, and swarms of fighters, all focusing their weapons on the single unknown warship. It was a show of force meant to crush any fear. Civilians cheered as they watched the fleet depart, believing the Empire would erase the threat before nightfall. But on the command deck, the officers were not so sure. The fleet closed in. The unknown vessel did not move. It sat in silence, its hull dark, its weapon hidden once more. The Imperial commander raised his hand. All ships, fire. A storm of light filled the void. Plasma beams, railgun slugs, missile swarms, every weapon in the fleet unleashed at once. The void burned white with power. The shockwaves rippled through space, shaking even the command center's viewports. No ship could survive that. Not even an Imperial fortress. The light faded. The admirals leaned forward. And then their blood ran cold. The warship was still there. Untouched. The scanners showed something impossible. The Imperial weapons had never even reached the ship. They had bent around it, twisting away as if the void itself refused to let them land. Beams curved off course, missiles detonated far from the target, railgun slugs shattered into dust. It was as if the ship wasn't even in the same reality. The fleet panicked. Commanders shouted. Pilots screamed. Some ships broke formation in fear. Then, for the first time since it arrived, the unknown warship moved. Its hull shimmered, and from its surface launched dozens of black spears of light, thin, precise, deadly. They weren't fired at battleships or heavy cruisers. They weren't fired at the strongest ships. They targeted the carriers. Within seconds, the fleet's fighter bays exploded in silent flashes. Thousands of pilots died before they could even launch. The swarm that was supposed to overwhelm the warship was destroyed before the battle had even begun. The admirals stared in horror. This wasn't war. It was slaughter. Admiral Cale whispered, "They're not just powerful, they're clever. They know exactly where to strike." The unknown ship released another wave. This time it wasn't weapons, it was drones. Hundreds more poured into the battlefield, latching onto Imperial ships like insects. They tore through hulls, ripped into engines, and devoured power lines. The mighty fleet that had taken centuries to build was collapsing in minutes. Back on the command deck, chaos broke out. Officers shouted for retreat. Others begged to keep fighting. But no one could deny the truth anymore. This enemy wasn't testing them. It was teaching them. Showing them that the Empire's power meant nothing. The unknown warship finally turned its crimson weapon back toward the command center. Its glow pulsed like a heart, brighter, stronger, hungry. Admiral Vera felt the weight of dread press on her chest. "This isn't just an attack," she whispered. "This is a message. They want the whole Empire to see. They want us to fear them." And fear spread quickly. Across the capital world, citizens watched the battle collapse in real time. The cheering stopped. The hope turned to silence. For the first time in history, the Empire realized it was facing an enemy it could not defeat. And the enemy hadn't even revealed who they were. The crimson weapon glowed brighter, painting the void in blood-red light. Every officer inside the command center braced for the end. If that blast struck, the entire station, and the Empire's highest command, would vanish in an instant. But the shot never came. The glow dimmed. The weapon closed. The unknown warship had spared them again. The admirals exchanged uneasy looks. Why? Why show such power, destroy half their fleet, and then stop short of finishing them? A new transmission cut through the silence. The same metallic voice as before, cold and deliberate. "Empire of steel and arrogance. Do you understand now?" No one dared to answer. "You thought yourselves eternal. But everything ends. Your fleets, your walls, your arrogance, all will fall. We are only the first reminder." The voice faded. Then the ship turned away, its drones still spreading across the system like a sickness. It drifted back to the edge of Imperial space and waited once more. The admirals finally spoke, their voices tight with fear. "They could have destroyed us," Admiral Cale muttered. "Why didn't they?" "Because," Vera whispered, "they want us alive. They want us to fear what comes next." The Empire had always been the hunter, the conqueror, the one who struck first. Now they were prey, cornered by a single vessel that refused to play by their rules. And whispers began to spread across the galaxy. Merchants spoke of a ghost ship that moved through hyperspace unseen. Smugglers swore they saw it weeks earlier, silently observing border worlds. Some even claimed it was not a ship at all, but a living thing, part machine, part predator. But in the darkest corners of history, old records were found. Records long buried by Imperial scholars. There were rumors of an ancient war, tens of thousands of years ago, fought against a race so ruthless, so advanced, that even mentioning their name was forbidden. The Empire had believed them extinct, wiped out by time itself. Yet the ship's design matched the drawings. The crimson weapon, the cloaking fields, the swarms of living drones, everything fit the legends. The names surfaced again, whispered like a curse, the Revenants. They were said to be hunters of empires, destroyers of arrogance. They did not conquer worlds. They erased civilizations, leaving only silence behind. No diplomacy. No mercy. Only extinction. If that ship truly belonged to them, then the Empire was not facing a new enemy. It was facing the return of something that had ended countless others. Inside the command center, the admirals felt the weight of history pressing down. They came back, Kale whispered, pale. The revenants came back. No, Vera said, shaking her head. They never left. They were waiting. The officers looked to their leaders, desperate for a plan. But there was none. Every strategy they had used for centuries meant nothing against this enemy. On the civilian channels, panic spread faster than fire. Some demanded surrender. Others demanded the entire fleet be thrown at the revenant ship, no matter the cost. But deep down, everyone knew, the Empire could lose everything, and it wouldn't matter. Because if one ship could do this, how many more were out there? And why reveal themselves now? The admirals realized something even worse. The revenants weren't here to invade the capital world. They weren't here to claim the Empire's throne. They were here to send a message to the galaxy. The strongest empire in known space had been humbled. Its fleets destroyed. Its command crippled. And the revenants had done it with a single ship. As silence fell across the command deck, a final thought chilled Admiral Vera's heart. If this is only their messenger, what happens when the real fleet arrives? The galaxy trembled. News of the battle spread far beyond Imperial borders. Merchants carried the story to outer colonies, smugglers whispered it in hidden ports, and rival nations laughed at the once mighty empire brought to its knees by a single ship. But their laughter didn't last long. Within weeks, more sightings appeared. A revenant warship was seen near the Republic's border stations, watching. Another was reported drifting near the Trade Alliance's routes, silent. None of them attacked, but everywhere they appeared, chaos followed. Fleets scrambled. Worlds panicked. Trust collapsed. It was no longer just the Empire's nightmare. The whole galaxy now felt the shadow of the revenants. Inside the Imperial Command Center, the admirals gathered again. Their faces were pale, their eyes tired. The drones still infested the capital system, feeding information to the ship that waited at the edge of space like a predator circling its prey. Admiral Vera broke the silence. We can't fight them alone. We need allies. The words were bitter. The Empire had never asked for help. They had ruled with iron and pride. But now, that pride was poison. Messages were sent across the galaxy. For the first time in history, the Empire called for aid. The responses were mixed. Some rivals celebrated the Empire's fall and refused to help. Others, however, had seen the revenant shadow near their own space and grew fearful. Quietly, they agreed to talk. An uneasy council was called. Republic diplomats, alliance traders, even warlords from the Outer Rim gathered in a neutral system to hear the Empire's plea. Admiral Kale stood before them, his voice heavy. You hate us. We know. We crushed you, taxed you, ruled you. But understand this, if the revenants come, they will not stop with the Empire. They will not stop at your borders. They will not bargain, they will not spare you. They will erase you. All of you. The only choice is unity, or extinction. The hall was silent. No one wanted to admit he was right. At last, a Republic senator spoke. Even if we stand together, how do we fight what cannot be touched? Your fleet fired everything. It survived. Kale had no answer. His silence was worse than defeat. Meanwhile, the revenants moved again. In a small mining system on the far edge of the galaxy, a lone revenant ship appeared above a moon. The miners panicked and called for help. A Republic fleet rushed to defend them. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. When the transmission finally reached the council, everyone watched in horror. The revenant ship did not even fire its weapon. It sent its drones instead. The swarm devoured the Republic fleet ship by ship, tearing hulls open like paper. The screams of dying crews filled the channel until static consumed everything. Then the drones turned on the moon itself. They stripped it bare, peeling metal and stone until only a dead husk remained. The council chamber shook with fear. None of the leaders spoke for a long time. Finally, Admiral Vera whispered the words everyone already knew. "This is not war. This is extermination." Across the galaxy, paranoia grew. Was every shadow a revenant ship? Were they already inside every system? Entire colonies fled deeper into their planets, hiding underground. Others prepared their fleets for desperate defense. But the revenants did not come in endless waves. They came one ship at a time. One system at a time. Quiet, patient, deliberate. Like hunters marking their prey. And the unknown warship that had first decloaked in Imperial space? It was still there. Waiting. Watching. Every day, its drones burrowed deeper into the system. Every day, its presence reminded the Empire, and the galaxy, that the revenants could strike at any moment. The galaxy's strongest powers had finally united. But unity meant nothing against an enemy that obeyed no rules of war. And the worst part was this. No one knew what the revenants wanted. Were they here to destroy? To cleanse? Or to take something the galaxy didn't even know it had? As Admiral Kale stood at the viewport of the command center, staring at the dark silhouette of the warship in the distance, one thought echoed in his mind. They're not attacking because they don't have to. We're already theirs. The revenants did not rush. They never rushed. Weeks passed, and still the dark warship sat at the edge of Imperial space, silent and patient. Its drones had turned the system into a nest. They clung to satellites, burrowed into abandoned stations, and drifted unseen among debris fields. The Empire no longer controlled its own heart. But then, one night, the silence broke. Every screen in the command center went black. Lights flickered. Systems froze. For a moment, the admirals thought the station had suffered a power failure. But then, one by one, the screens came back to life. And every screen showed the same image. The shadow of the revenant ship. Then came the voice. That same metallic tone, heavy and unyielding. Empire. Republic. Alliance. Hear us. The council leaders across the galaxy watched in shock as the transmission reached them too. The revenants were speaking not just to the Empire, but to everyone at once. For too long, you have spread unchecked. You strip worlds, enslave species, poison the stars. You build empires of arrogance and call it order. The voice grew colder. We are the end of arrogance. We are the correction. You may resist, you may beg, but it will change nothing. We will erase what you have built. We will erase you. This galaxy does not belong to you. It never did. The message cut out. The command deck was silent, except for the faint hum of systems rebooting. No one spoke. No one breathed. At last, Admiral Vera whispered, "They are not here for war. They are here for judgment." And the judgment had already begun. Across the galaxy, reports poured in. Another colony gone dark. Another fleet swallowed whole. The revenants did not conquer or occupy. They erased. Systems that had been alive for centuries were now nothing but dead space. The uneasy alliance between the Empire, the Republic, and the Trade Alliance grew desperate. Leaders screamed for answers. Scientists were ordered to study fragments of destroyed drones, searching for any weakness. But the drones seemed to repair themselves, their parts dissolving into dust before they could be fully understood. Fear spread faster than knowledge. Civilizations turned on each other. Some accused rivals of secretly helping the revenants. Others closed their borders, abandoning allies to their fate. Even within the Empire, riots broke out. Citizens no longer believed in their leaders. They believed only in the shadow waiting at the edge of the system. Admiral Kale stood in the war room, staring at the glowing map of the galaxy. Red marks showed every confirmed revenant attack. There were more every week. "They're not random," Kale muttered. "Look, the pattern. They're closing in. Not just at the edges, but toward something in the center." Vera frowned. The center. Kale zoomed the map. The red trail of revenant destruction formed a path, and at the end of that path, Earth. Not the capital of the Empire. Not a major hub of the Republic. A forgotten world, long abandoned, dismissed as insignificant. But the revenants were moving toward it with terrifying precision. Vera's blood ran cold. Why? Why would they target that? Kale's voice was low. Because whatever they're after, it isn't power. It isn't territory. It's something older. Something we don't understand. And they believe it lies there. For the first time since the revenants appeared, the admirals felt something even worse than fear. Ignorance. They had no idea what the revenants truly wanted. Only that the galaxy itself was being pulled toward a secret buried on an old, forgotten world. And the revenant ship that had first decloaked in Imperial space? It was no longer waiting. Its engines roared to life. Slowly, silently, it turned away from the capital system and jumped into hyperspace, heading straight toward the same destination. Earth. The galaxy held its breath. The revenant ship was gone from Imperial space, its shadow erased from the stars. But no one felt relief. Its departure was worse than its presence, because now they knew where it was going. Earth. The forgotten world, ignored for centuries, dismissed as unimportant. Yet the revenants had chosen it as their target. And if they wanted Earth, it meant Earth held something the galaxy did not understand. The uneasy alliance scrambled. Fleets were rushed into hyperspace, chasing the revenant vessel. The Empire sent battleships, the Republic deployed cruisers, and the Trade Alliance offered scouts and supply carriers. For the first time in history, enemies shared the same goal: reach Earth before the revenants. But they were too late. When the first fleet emerged from hyperspace, they found the revenant ship already there. It hovered in orbit above the dead blue planet, its drones swarming across the surface like shadows crawling over stone. The admirals on the fleet's flagship watched in horror as giant scars spread across Earth's crust. The drones were digging, searching for something buried deep. "Fire now!" Admiral Kale shouted. "Stop them before they find it." The Allied fleet unleashed everything: plasma, missiles, railguns. The void lit up with fury. But just as before, the weapons curved away, refusing to touch the revenant ship. The blasts struck harmlessly into space. And then the revenant weapon opened. Crimson light burned across the system. The fleet's shields cracked. Half a dozen cruisers vanished in seconds. The Allied ships scattered, trying to survive, but the warship never missed. Every strike crippled a vital ship, every blast shattered morale. It wasn't a battle. It was a massacre. But even in their defeat, the admirals realized something. The revenants weren't trying to destroy the fleet. They were buying time. Their true focus was the planet below. On Earth's surface, the drones reached something buried beneath the old ruins of humanity. A vault, sealed for millennia, its walls glowing with strange energy. The command center officers, watching from orbit, stared in disbelief. "What is that?" one gasped. Kale's voice was low. "It's not Imperial. Not Republic. Not Alliance. It's older. Much older." The vault cracked open, and a light poured out, brilliant, white, endless. The drones swarmed inside, vanishing into the glow. The revenant ship pulsed with energy, as if feeding on whatever lay within. Then, for the first time, a new voice filled the channels. It was not the metallic tone of the revenants. It was something different. It was human. "Who dares disturb our rest?" The fleets froze. The admirals looked at one another, stunned. The voice was not from any living person. It came from Earth itself. From the vault. The light grew brighter, shaping itself into towering figures of pure energy. They looked human, yet not. Ancient. Beyond time. The revenants halted their drones. For the first time, they hesitated. Admiral Vera whispered, "The revenants came for this, whatever this is. But it isn't theirs. It isn't ours. It's something older than all of us." The figures spoke again, their voices echoing across the stars. You call yourselves empires. You call yourselves rulers. But you are children playing with fire. We were here before you. We will be here after you. And these are the thieves who would steal our legacy. The light surged outward, slamming into the revenant ship. For the first time, the warship staggered. Its shields cracked. Its drones burned into ash. The galaxy watched in shock. The untouchable predator, the ship that humbled the Empire, was finally being struck down. The revenant voice roared, metallic and furious. This is not the end. We will return. We always return. The warship tore itself from orbit and vanished into hyperspace, crippled but not destroyed. The revenants were not finished. They never were. The light slowly faded. The figures dissolved, leaving only silence. The vault sealed once more. Earth returned to stillness, but the galaxy was forever changed. The revenants were real. Their power unmatched. Their hunger endless. And now the galaxy knew why they had come. They had not come for conquest. They had come for what humanity left behind. And somewhere in the silence of deep space, the revenants were already preparing their return.